My name is Leo, and my trouble started with a refrigerator. It wasn't even a new one. It was old, tall, and a sickly shade of beige, like a faded photograph from my parents' past. My family had just moved into this house at the edge of town, a place where the streetlights didn't quite reach and the shadows played tricks on your eyes. The house was dark, with narrow hallways and floors that creaked with every step. But the creepiest thing of all was that refrigerator, standing alone in the corner of the kitchen. It had a single heavy door and a handle that felt cold as ice, even on a warm day. It hummed a low, sad tune that seemed to vibrate through the entire house. The first night I heard it, a low, rhythmic thumping sound like a slow, tired heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. I sat up in bed, my ears straining in the darkness. The sound was coming from downstairs, from the kitchen. My heart started to beat faster, matching the rhythm of the strange noise. I told myself it was just the old house settling, or maybe the ice maker was broken. But this house didn't have an ice maker. The sound was deep and hollow, echoing through the silent rooms. I pulled the blankets over my head, but I couldn't block it out. It was a sound that made you feel like you weren't alone, even when you really, really wanted to be. I tried to ignore it for a few nights, pretending it was just a normal old appliance making normal old appliance noises. But the sound began to change. The thumping was sometimes joined by a soft scraping noise, like fingernails dragging slowly across a metal surface. Scrape! Thump, thump! Goosebumps crawled up my arms. Who scrapes things from inside a refrigerator? I'd open the door in the morning, expecting to find something, anything to explain the sound, but it was always the same inside. A half-empty carton of milk, a lonely jar of pickles, and a bottle of ketchup. Nothing seemed out of place, yet the feeling of dread never left me. My parents didn't seem to notice. "It's just an old fridge, Leo," my dad would say, ruffling my hair. "They make weird noises." But this was more than weird. It was spooky. The kind of spooky that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The kind of spooky that makes you afraid to go to the kitchen for a midnight snack. The refrigerator stood in its corner like a silent waiting monster. Its low hum was a constant reminder that something was wrong, very wrong. I had a feeling that whatever was happening was just the beginning. I was right. The real horror was about to start. The strange noises were just the beginning of the nightmare. On the fourth night, something new happened. After the thumping and scraping finally stopped, I crept downstairs, my flashlight beam shaking in my hand. I pulled open the heavy refrigerator door, and my breath caught in my throat. Sitting on the top shelf, right in the center, was an egg. It was perfectly white and smooth, but it wasn't a chicken egg. It was too large, too round. It felt cold to the touch, colder than anything else in the fridge. I had no idea where it came from. My parents hadn't bought any eggs this big. I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding against my ribs. The next night, I had to look again. I couldn't stop myself. My curiosity was a powerful force, even stronger than my fear. I tiptoed to the kitchen, took a deep breath and opened the door. There were 2 eggs now, 2 of them sitting side by side, perfectly identical. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe my mum bought them, maybe it was a prank, but I knew it wasn't. There was a weird energy coming from them, a faint, almost invisible shimmer in the dim light of the refrigerator. I closed the door even faster this time and ran back to my room, diving under the covers as if they could protect me. This became a terrifying nightly ritual. Every single night a new egg would appear. On the 3rd night, there were 3. On the 4th, there were 4. It was like a creepy countdown, but I didn't know what it was counting down to. I stopped telling my parents about it. They wouldn't believe me. They would think I was going crazy. So I kept my fear a secret, watching the collection of mysterious eggs grow. 6, 7, 8, each one a perfect pearly white sphere. A silent promise of something awful to come. The refrigerator's hum seemed to grow louder with each new egg, more menacing and alive. By the 12th night, there were 12 eggs arranged in a neat circle on the shelf. The air inside the refrigerator had become incredibly cold, a frosty mist pouring out every time I dared to open the door. The egg seemed to pulse with a faint inner light, though I could never be sure if it was real or just my terrified imagination playing tricks on me. I knew the next night, the 13th night, would be the last. The countdown would be over. I didn't know what would happen, but a cold, hard knot of fear was tightening in my stomach. Something terrible was waiting for me in that cursed box. On the 13th night, I couldn't sleep at all. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the familiar hum from the kitchen. It sounded different tonight, deeper and more excited, like a purr. Around midnight, the humming stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. It was heavy and full of anticipation. I knew I had to go down. I had to see what had happened. My feet felt like lead as I crept down the stairs, each creak of the floorboards sounding like a scream in the quiet house. The kitchen was darker than usual, and the air was thick and smelled strange, like sour milk and something else, something sweet. I reached for the refrigerator handle, my hand trembling so much I could barely grip it. It was vibrating, buzzing with a strange energy. I pulled the door open, bracing myself for what I would find. The eggs were gone. All 12 of them had vanished. In their place, sitting in a large glass bowl that I had never seen before, was a huge glob of mayonnaise. But this was no ordinary mayonnaise. It was glowing. A sickly, pulsating, yellowish-green light filled the inside of the fridge, casting eerie shadows across the kitchen. The mayonnaise bubbled and popped, releasing small puffs of foul-smelling vapor. It was alive. I screamed, a short, choked-off sound of pure terror. I slammed the door shut and stumbled backward, my mind reeling. Glowing mayonnaise? What was happening? This was beyond a nightmare. As I backed away, a loud clang echoed through the room. The refrigerator door swung open on its own. The glowing mayonnaise pulsed brighter, and then, with a horrifying lurch, the entire refrigerator slid forward. It moved off the wall, its metal feet scraping loudly against the linoleum floor. It was coming after me. I turned and bolted from the kitchen, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I didn't get far. I ran into the living room, but the scraping sound was right behind me. I risked a glance over my shoulder and gasped in horror. The refrigerator was chasing me, its door flapping open and closed like a hungry mouth. Tendrils of the glowing green mayonnaise began to snake out from inside, stretching and reaching for me like sticky, slimy tentacles. I was trapped. There was nowhere to run. I tripped over a rug and fell to the floor, scrambling backward as the monstrous appliance cornered me against the wall. This was it. I was about to be eaten by a haunted refrigerator and its evil mayonnaise. Just as a long, gooey tendril of mayonnaise was about to touch my face, the entire house was flooded with a brilliant, blinding golden light. The light was so bright I had to squeeze my eyes shut. A powerful wave of energy washed over the room, pushing the refrigerator back a few inches. The air crackled and hummed with a power that made the refrigerator's spooky energy feel like a flickering candle. When I dared to open my eyes, a man was standing between me and the monster. He had wild, spiky black hair, wore a bright orange martial arts uniform, and was surrounded by a shimmering golden aura. I didn't know who he was, but he didn't look scared at all. "Looks like you've got a bit of a kitchen pest problem," the man said, his voice calm and confident. The refrigerator monster seemed to pause, as if confused by this new arrival. It let out a low groan, and the glowing mayonnaise bubbled furiously, sending more tentacles whipping through the air. The man just smirked. "Heh, I've fought aliens and gods. I think I can handle some expired condiment." He cracked his knuckles and the sound was like a thunderclap. He turned to me and gave me a reassuring wink. "Stay back, kid. This might get a little messy." It was then I recognized him from the comics my friends read. It was Goku. Goku powered up, his golden aura flaring so brightly that the shadows vanished from the room. The evil refrigerator recoiled, its humming turning into a high-pitched shriek of what sounded like fear. The mayonnaise tentacles lashed out, trying to ensnare him, but Goku moved too fast. He was a blur of orange and gold, dodging every attack with ease. He appeared right in front of the fridge, his hand held out. "Let's see if you can handle this!" he yelled. A ball of blue energy began to form in his palm, crackling and spinning with immense power. The light from the energy ball was even brighter than the mayonnaise. The cursed refrigerator seemed to know it was in trouble. It started shaking violently, and the mayonnaise inside glowed with a final, desperate burst of green light. But it was too late. Goku didn't even hesitate. "Kamehameha!" he shouted, thrusting his hands forward. A massive beam of pure blue energy shot from his palms and slammed directly into the refrigerator. The blast engulfed the monstrous appliance, and for a moment the entire kitchen was filled with a swirling vortex of blue and green light. The battle for my kitchen, and maybe my life, had just begun, and I had a Super Saiyan on my side.